All right, hi guys. We're testing out our new video system, and I figured why not go over our healthcare renewal real quick, not for the rest of our employees, but primarily just for the administrators, so you know what's coming when open enrollment comes around. So the cool thing is, while I'm looking at my slides, we're going to have the slides up here on the screen. Thanks to Drew and his amazing video capability, all the fancy effects they used in zombie movies back in the day. So December 1st is our renewal. It's coming around. That means we probably are really going to start getting into it in October, and the employees are going to start asking questions. And so I'm going to go ahead and put up the three options real quick. The one thing that's different this year, in the past, every time the renewal was increased on us, which is, it goes up every year, usually anywhere from 8 to 18% based on how much utilization we had. And what I mean by utilization, for every dollar that, let's say, Anthem collects, if they spend out 98% on our premiums, they can't afford to run their company. So then they increase our rate the next year. What they want to get is about 20%. That gives them enough for admin and profit for the shareholders. We've got some handful of folks that are dealing with some really heavy stuff, and so each year it climbs. This will be the first year Andy and I really kind of looked at the goals of the company, and we decided that this is going to be the first year in a long time that we're actually, SSV is going to keep the amount we're putting in about the same, prepare ourselves for a lot of people to jump on our plan because of healthcare reform. It's moving from 35 down to 30 for full time. So there could be an influx of people jumping on the plan at roughly about $5,000 a person. And so since we are going to have a hard time affording that, we kept the amount we're putting into each of these plans the same, meaning that a little bit more is going to have to come out of your check for those that are on our health care. So it's just a little change. There's a darn good strategy to do it. What we want to do with the savings or any additional surplus we have this year is raise the base wages, primarily in Danville and maybe a little bit in Lynchburg, because we're not competitive in the market, and so we're having a hard time hiring people. And so it doesn't matter how good our health care plan is. If we can't get quality DSPs out in the field, we might as well shut the shop. So that's what we're going to focus on this year, is getting the DSP's wages up, or the starting pay for DSP's wages, and then hopefully we can trickle it up as additional surpluses come around if we do a good job. So as you can see by the three plans, we got the standard three that we've always had. We have the HSA, the HMO, and then a PPO. The difference on those are the HSA, HMO, and the HMO are in-network plans. So as long as you're in your network, you get a high discount. The PPO means that you can basically go anywhere you want, out of state, any doctor, anywhere. It's all doctors are in network. That's why it's so expensive. But there's a handful of people that either want a specialist, or they can't get the doctors they need in whatever area they're in, or they want to go out of state to have a doc. And so there are a handful of people that are on the PPO, even though it is more expensive. So we're going to leave that in place this year. Let me start off with the HMO HSA. Basically, we're bumping up the deductible. The deductible stayed the same at $3,000. We changed it from 100% to 80%, meaning that after you've met the deductible, any of the charges that the hospital gives you, the plan only picks up 80% of that, so a little bit more comes out of your pocket. So we had to water the plan down a little bit, but that made it so that it's only $47 per pay period, or $47.43, and $102 and change per month. It's up a little bit, but not that much. So what we did is, instead of keeping the exact same plan and making the amount coming out of your check go up, or the amount taken out of your check go up, we watered the plan down a little bit, so your check, the amount you're paying only goes up a little bit. The next one is the HMO. It's a $2,000 deductible. We did move it from $1,000 up to $2,000. That watered down the premium just a little bit, so that it ends up being $66 roughly a pay period, or $102 and change per month. That is a little bit of an increase. I think it's might be $40 or something along those lines of an increase. But the HMO is the most popular plan we had, so we tried to keep it as strong as we could without making the amount that's going to be the new amount coming out of your check, too crushing for somebody that's either a DSP or mid-level manager. Because if it goes up $40, that's a lot of money per month for a lot of people. On the PPO, we played with that just a little bit. I think we moved the deductible up a little bit to $5,000, and then it's a 70% match after that. Same as the HMO, it just means that after you've met your deductible, you're on the hook for 30% of the charges on the out-of-network plan. So that rate is $97 per pay period, or $211 per month. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of the pros and cons of each plan, and kind of which plan's for which person. Because you guys are going to get asked by DSPs and ASCs and anybody that just doesn't know health insurance, which one should I choose? And so what I wanted to do is just give you, from my perspective, I'm not a healthcare professional by any means, but I've talked to a lot of people about insurance, and so I'm going to give you my perspective on who these plans are perfect for. So we're going to start off with the HMO-HSA. And an HSA means that you put money into an account that's your account, it's tax-free, and when you pull it out, it's not taxed, and when you reach retirement, you actually can pull out the cash. But the idea is as long as that money's pulled out for use for your medical care, it's not taxed. There's a big advantage to that. So that's why we kind of like to have an HSA on there. So it's perfect for anyone who doesn't have the money for the HMO, the PPO, and they just want insurance and they want the cheapest one possible. The HSA is the right one for them. It's also great for people who can afford to put in $40 or more per month out of their check, because SSVA is going to match it dollar for dollar up to $40 a month. So if a DSP puts in $40 into their HSA, we're going to put in $40. They got $80 in cash, so that if they had an incident, they can pull that cash out. It's all tax-free, and so it goes a lot further than taking money out of your pocket you got out of your paycheck. But it's very good for people who have extra money that can fund it properly. If you do not access medical services on a regular basis, people like me who can't stand going to doctors, I break bones all the time, and if I can duct tape and silly putty myself together, I'm not going in. HSA is the exact right plan, because the idea is that it's there for catastrophic. You get in a car wreck or something bad, it's there for you. Other than that, why waste money on paying higher premiums when you're not going to use it? So any of those folks, this is perfect for. And prescription drugs. If you do not take prescription drugs, OTC drugs from the Rite Aid are fine. But in prescription drugs, the HSA plan or the HMO-HSA is not very robust, so you're going to pay a lot of money out of pocket. So I would not recommend this plan for those folks. So kind of the pros and the cons. Pros, as you can see on the slide, low premiums, you can put money into it, it rolls over year to year. So instead of putting money into premiums in an HMO, which if you don't use it, you lose it, in an HSA, you can fund the HSA and the money rolls over and hopefully accumulates to a large amount, so when you do need it, you have enough money to pay your deductible. If you leave the company, the money's still yours and it goes with you. This is your personal account, and after SSVA matches it with the $40, that's yours too. There's no taking it back, there's no vesting or anything. So that's another really benefit to the HMO or the HSA. And again, I said all the money's tax-free, so that's a big advantage, because if you're in a 25 or 30% tax bracket, whatever, that if you were taking it out of your pocket, out of your paycheck, obviously that's not going to go as far as tax-free money. So the cons of this is a high deductible. I mean, it's not going to cover the little stuff. It's only going to cover something major. The prescription coverage is not good, not as good as the HMO. If you think you're going to be using medical services on a regular basis, this is not your plan. This is for the folks that they get their preventative done, which is fine. But if you think you're going to have a surgery or your injury or you got anything that's going on that thinks you might be in there for one of the larger ticket items, I would not recommend this plan. One of the cons is also, unlike the PPO where you can go to any doc, this plan you can only go to doctors in your network. And so if you don't have a good network, you might not want to consider this. So now let's move over to the HMO. This is the most popular plan SSVA's had when it comes down to employees. They usually select this primarily because it's easy. The premiums are higher, but you don't have to set up an account and fund account and figure out how much you can afford and worry about the high deductible. Now this deductible in the HMO has been climbing year over year. It started out like $500, now we're up to $2,000. Part of that's not our choice. The Healthcare Reform Act is basically saying any employer that has a very low deductible plan, they call that the Cadillac plan, and they're going to start taxing us at a much higher rate, basically penalizing us for having these low deductible HMOs. The concept behind that is if the employee goes to a doctor, they would rather the employee be spending their own money than the company's money. And the reason for that is if it's their money coming out of their pocket, their account, they're going to make wiser decisions, and they're going to ask for generic meds, or they're going to ask the doctor, do I truly need this test or not? And so by pushing some of that that cost down to the employees, they're hoping to take down the cost of healthcare overall. And so what you're going to see is pressure from the insurance companies and from the federal government to employers to raise the deductible so that healthcare truly becomes catastrophic coverage only, and the normal day-to-day stuff for the sniffles is all coming out of your pocket without any insurance. So the HMO, it's perfect for anyone who uses medical services on a regular basis. It doesn't matter what it's for, but if you see yourself going to the doctor quite a bit, above and beyond preventative care, this would be your plan. especially if you have a good network of doctors. Hopefully you're able, if you take this plan, you're able to afford the higher premium. If you can't afford it, then the HSA is better. This is for somebody who has a prescription drug that they're taking on a regular basis, especially if it's a high dollar drug. I would definitely go with this plan. This is also for some people, like we had the HSA and some people signed up for the HSA and they never set up their account and they never put any money in and SSVA never matched it. HMO is a good plan for people who are just not disciplined enough to take all the time and effort to set up the HSA. If you know you're not the type of person that's going to do that, don't pick the HSA because you don't get all the benefit. The benefit of the HSA is you put in your 40, we put in our 40, and you start growing that account. That's the real benefit. So those are basically the who HMO is perfect for. So when it comes down to the HMO, basically the pros of an HMO are it's better coverage than the HSA. So the more you go to the doctor, the more the plan's going to pay. The HSA doesn't pay as much. I talked about the prescription coverage being better, and this is definitely the more affordable plan if you're going to go to the doctor a lot, meaning that the plan's going to cover you a lot more than the HSA. The cons is, of course, the premiums are higher. I'd say it's a medium premium. It's not nowhere near as high as the PPO. If you pick the HMO but you don't use it, anything above preventative care, you basically wasted your money because you're paying the higher premium as if you're going to be going to the doctor a lot or taking medications. If you don't do any of that, you should have done the HSA and put your money in there, which you can roll over year to year. So that's the thing. You're wasting your money if you're not going to go to the doctor. There's no way in the HMO to save any money that's tax-free. So that's a con on this one. And then also, the HMO, you can only access the doctors in your network. So if you live in an outlying area, you want to go out of state, don't pick this plan.